Hello, friends and neighbors. It is with great pleasure that I get to talk to Phil Fishman, who started his journey, and he's going to tell us his story, but he started his journey as a teenager, and he'll talk about that bead. He ended up in a bead store, the Bead Shaman in Tucson, and he knows, the Mimi and Mike and Shannon from Piney Hollow. Like, he really knows, our Tucson history. And then he traveled around making trees, bead trees and wire trees. He ended up with a bead store in Encinitas, and he probably bought that store 2 to 4 months after I had been in that store. It was one of the only stores I've ever been in when I was selling on the road that didn't buy any beads. And I think they were just financially up against it, So Phil was a blessing to them to show up and take that store over and help them. And now, I was here a year or two ago buying some of the collection for the Bead Museum that had been in the Arizona highways that had been in Piney Hollow. Well, I just got more from him, and I just got his ending inventory, which is a lot. And so it's big cycles. So, he started his commercial bead journey in Tucson, and now his beads are coming back to Tucson. The collection that he had started in Tucson, it's coming back to Tucson. This is a long introduction, but that's what I do. But Phil and I, in the last few days, we've become brothers. We are bead brothers. I mean, there's no question about it. We really, at breakfast this morning, I said, well, I'm kind of like the coroner, because it's the end of a business, but I'm also a bit like the midwife, because he's birthing into doing second Saturdays, like we have in Tucson. We have second Saturdays. And so he's still going to be here in Vista. You can still come visit. He's got, you see behind us, if I was a millionaire, I would just say, wrap the room up and I'll take it all. But I don't have the funds or the space to do that. But I was able to get some amazing beads and artifacts to put in the Tucson Bead Museum that I am so, so appreciative of. So Phil is kind. He is wise, and he is passionate. That's what I've seen really spending time with him these last 2-3 days. Those are the pillars of his existence that I see. He's probably much more complicated. We could get his wife Val in here to explain. Let me explain Phil to you. Phil Fishman of Beads, Crystals, and More in Vista, now shutting down, and a few more days left, but like I said, he'll be at second Saturdays. So Phil, take us from that first bead in New Jersey. You saw a bead, and
Sure. But first I have to say thank you. Working with you and playing with you these last few days has been monumentally wonderful. And 'tis a gift to be simple. Was that Irish song? 'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free. And if I can be kind, wise, and passionate, I don't need much more than that. Beads have been good to my soul. I walked into my first bead store at 15 years old in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. I walked in to buy $2 worth of seed beads, string up a seashell, and give it to my sister Fran. And while I was there, I saw a green chevron bead from the year 1500, a green 7-layer chevron hanging on a piece of leather. And I looked at the bead. Even the woman in the store didn't know that much about it. But it spoke to my soul in a language I wasn't educated about at the time. I've spent the next 55 years learning what that language is and what that history was. And I walked down to the store that day, August 1969, and I looked at the store and I said, exact quote, "Wouldn't it be neat to own a little bead store in a little beach town a few blocks from the ocean? Wouldn't that be neat?" And I walked away. 28 years later, I walked into Beads and More in Encinitas. I walked in to buy one headpin and spend a dime. And it was a children's bead store that was going out of business. And life doesn't throw these coincidences at us. I had made 42 pairs of earrings for Valerie's 42nd birthday, and I ran out of headpins at 41 and a half pairs. And I tore my bead room apart and said, I have to have another
One head pin.
One head pin. And I
For the world.
I used to buy 1,000 head pins at a
Right.
time. That was the other thing. It wasn't
Right.
like I had a few. I had,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, how could I
Yeah.
possibly run out? So I walked into Beads and More to spend a dime, or so I thought. And lovely bead store, going out of business, nice people, not a lot of inventory. Their business was falling off a cliff because they had just gotten tired and stopped investing in it. And they had tried to sell the business a few years earlier, full of merchandise, no takers. They tried to sell it empty, no takers, and I walked in. And again, it was the cosmic coincidence of running out of head pins at 41 and a half pairs and walking
Right.
into that store. So
Right.
I came home and I said to Valerie, I said, honey, I don't know why this happened other than it's telling me pay attention, because life gives us those little
Now,
signs.
did they say the business is for sale?
They were out of state at the time.
Okay.
So there was a young man, I think he told me the
Okay.
business was
All
for
right.
sale.
Yep, yep.
So I went home and I said to Valerie, I said, I don't know what it means other than pay attention. She said, pay attention. So I went back down to the store a couple days later and I asked the young man some questions. He didn't know a lot. And I said, where's the next closest bead store? Because I wasn't familiar with the lay of the land there. And it happened to be a few miles down Coast Highway. So I drove down Coast Highway on a beautiful San Diego day, blue sky, fluffy clouds. And eagle is my totem. And as I'm driving down the road, in the clouds in front of me, as if God was Audubon,
Right.
is an open-winged cloud formation. It wasn't an open-winged cloud formation like if you're drunk or you're stoned and you squint. Yeah, it
Right.
kind of looks like. No, it was like God painted an eagle right in front of me.
Wow.
And I literally was laughing, looking at the cars on both sides. Does anybody see this? Look, see what? And I said to myself in the car, I said out loud, I don't know where this is leading me. It's obviously leading me in the right direction. So Val and I talked about the store. We went up to Sedona to talk about it because it was more money than we had set aside.
Mhm.
And we rented a little cottage on the banks of Oak Creek, and we were sitting on a stone surrounded by water talking about, should we make this life investment?
Yep.
And it took every dollar we had to our name. It was a big investment for us. It did not leave us wiggle room. It didn't
Right.
leave us.
Right.
It was an investment. And Valerie said, should we take a leap of faith? And those words came out of her mouth, and in the next beat, a squirrel that was in the tree on the left side of the bank, thank you, universe,
Yeah.
leapt across and landed on a rock right in front of us, looking at us. And I looked at this squirrel and burst out laughing, and I turned to Valerie because she had just said, you know, should we make this commitment? And
Yeah.
then I said to her, I said, well, we would need a sign.
And you said to the squirrel, "Are you nuts? You just leaped over a creek."
Thank you. I missed that line. Thank you very much. And so, to buy the store, it took draining our savings, taking a second on my house at 13.5%, and promising Valerie I wouldn't lose the house,
Wow, that's big.
and borrowing $5,000 from my dad.
Yeah. Wow.
And we took over the store on August 23rd because after making that investment, we did not have the money to pay rent on September 1st.
Right.
That's how out on the ledge like the squirrel we were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had just assessed if I hustle for 8 days, I should be able to make rent. And I did. And that was our very humble beginning.
Yeah.
And that was 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what transpired from that, talking about the passion and the love and the joy, we just invested everything back into the business. We have worked with the most wonderful people like David and so many friends in the bead world, artists and collectors, African friends, friends from many nations. That's why this museum is here. Piney Hollow. So I worked in Tucson. I moved to Tucson freshman year in college, and I worked in the Bead Shaman.
On University, I think it was.
On University, right by the main gate.
Yep.
And they had a lot of Native American rugs,
Mm-hmm.
and they had native pottery, and they had a lot of trade beads, loose trade beads.
Uh-huh.
And the Africans came to the store and spoke to the manager, and he would buy beads, and I would stand over their shoulder and just listen and learn. And so that was the humble beginning of just learning about these old beads.
Yeah.
Most of them are made in Venice or the Czech Republic, old European beads that had gone into Africa that were part of the African trade.
Which are incredibly scarce now from the Africans.
Yeah.
You know, you see their stuff and it's recent Chinese, recent Czech that they beat up.
Indonesian replicas of the old
Tons
beads.
of replicas, yeah, and very little of what you have.
Yeah.
You know, very, very little. It's because it's sitting in collections.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you worked at the Bead Shaman.
Worked at the Bead Shaman, and then I volunteered at the co-op on 4th Avenue. And Piney Hollow was a door or two down from there.
Yeah.
So I would go into Piney Hollow, and they had a museum wall exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't for sale, but they had beads and they had signs.
Yep.
And I used to go there and listen. I'd listen to Mike.
Yep. And
Talking.
that's Mike and Mimi Haggerty.
Yeah.
And Shannon Haggerty of Piney Hollow in Tucson.
And I've actually shared with people in our store when I shared with them, because I've paid homage to Mike and Mimi over the years.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, this wonderful couple who knew all the stories, who had traveled, who were learned, who were generous with their time and their knowledge. And to me at the time, being a teenager at the time, they were kind of like old hippies.
I think they were old hippies.
I was a young hippie. And now I'm another generation of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we became old timers.
Yeah.
Somehow. That
Sharing
happens.
the stories, the wisdom, the travels,
Yeah.
the trade, the information. The bead world is ancient.
Yeah.
Ancient wisdom, ancient art, ancient culture.
Yeah.
I have beads that are many thousands of years old. I have a strand of beads that was part of Mike's collection on the wall that are about 5,000-year-old stone beads that to this day I've been putting in people's hands and sharing with them. And it's amazing, especially in our culture, how fast moving it is, and nowadays with the internet, to hold 5,000 years of history in your hands and see the artistry and feel the energy.
Yeah.
The stories come through whether the people understand them or not.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And that's about the birth of, it's a little younger, but about the birth of both writing and agriculture, or what we think of as that. I, never believe the scientists and the archaeologists, because it's just getting older and older and older. Now they're finding fire 440,000 years ago, man affected or man used fire. So, beads, we have no idea when that started.
yeah. And how many years ago on fire?
440, I think is what they say.
And those first people walked around looking for the match. They said, we've got this idea. If we could just have this little match, make it so much easier.
Yeah, I could make beads at night. like we were both. He was talking about how he creates things at night, and that's like a lot of you are bead artists and make things, and I know that feeling. I like to go to bed at like 10:30 at the latest. In fact, I'm usually sleeping on the couch at 9, and my kids going, "Quit snoring." but when I get in the zone, then it's like it's 12. I gotta keep, and then 1 o'clock. Oh, I gotta keep going. 2:30. Finally, 2:30 or 3. I'm like, I gotta go to bed. I can't do this anymore. But yeah, that's the space you live in.
But there's different time zones too. So, and I live in Hawaiian time a lot of times.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I got 3 more hours. This is good.
So Phil is known for saying aloha,
Yes.
which means hello, goodbye, and I love you. And he is certainly a love-centered person. He took the time to show my son Giovanni how to make a tree. Here are the steps. Here's how you do it. Here, And he gave him a job. Here, wind this wire around here. And then he came back in 10 minutes. Okay, like you would with an apprentice. And that's really cool to see Giovanni learning from a legend. And he made trees for a living. Now you made trees, and he gave trees to famous people. So take it from there.
So the tree idea was inspired from the 4th Avenue
That's right.
show when I lived in Tucson, and I was selling jewelry.
Yep.
And took a bathroom break, ran down the street, saw a metal sculptor who welded cottages and horses and carriages and things like that, little cut and welded metal pieces, which I liked. They didn't do anything to me. I just noticed them as I was running down the street. But the same person had made a little twisted tree. And I saw the little twisted tree. I said, that looks like a tree. That looks real.
That's hand. It's got the hand in it. Yeah.
So then I started playing with the idea and created trees. That business was the Tree of Life Studio.
Wow.
And I think it morphed into Treedom at one point.
Let Treedom ring.
Let Treedom ring. And I have made trees. I had them before we bought this shop. I had them in galleries. And I had made trees. I made a tree for Magic Johnson. I made a tree for Katie Couric. I made a tree for President Mrs. Clinton and Vice President Mrs. Gore. Made jewelry for Colin Powell's wife, General Colin Powell's wife. An extraordinary man.
Wow.
So before we had the store, I was growing an audience for my art. And when we bought the store and there was not much in it, I brought all my trees in just to make it look like we had something of interest and value. And I do have trees in the store now. And my wife and I got married on the island of Kauai the year before Hurricane Iniki hit and stripped the island. So I then created windswept trees, and I called them Iniki's Children.
Oh, wow.
And for 3 years, every time I sold one, I sent money back to the pastor of the church who had done the ceremony for us.
Nice.
So part of what we do too is giving back.
You really do. You really do. I mean, you've given to the local community, to Ukraine, to a long list.
Yeah.
And we've kind of developed a tradition, I guess we could say now, where he'll give me a really cool bead. Last time I was here, he gave me 2 really old ivory beads and a lion's tooth, and that's on my dresser at home. And then I just brought him a little ivory eagle head and a piece of epidote that I had found and cut into a bead. And so it's a fun tradition that really also goes back. Something that I read recently. The archaeologists now are not carbon dating, but isotope, lead isotope, whatever, studying. And so they can identify a material that's from this hill versus this hill versus this hill, because that, whatever, it hasn't changed. And so they were examining ostrich eggshell beads that go back, they've been found 70,000 years old, made by Neanderthal. And they found in one strand, of course this is new knowledge, that there were beads from this village, beads from far away, beads from another place, and they called the ostrich eggshell beads the first Facebook, because you would come to a gathering, and then you would, here's beads from my village, here's beads from and you would trade beads, and then you would wear, and just like we do, just like, I'm wearing beads, I have beads from Africa, I have Japanese glass vintage, different experiences and different relationships with different groups and different individuals. And so beads really, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was thinking about this earlier, that there's beads that have been used to do terrible things. There's in the Jade Museum in Costa Rica, there's a necklace of heads that every time that warrior killed somebody, they got a head bead. So we're not going to sugarcoat it. Beads are all butterflies and dragonflies. Phil has this museum that we haven't talked about yet. And I've been buying what I could from the museum, especially the Piney Hollow collection. Like I said earlier, that I got 3 more cases of that to put in the Bead Museum in Tucson. And now he's, ending this business. He says next year gem show, I can really come visit you
Yeah.
and help. I just want help identifying and telling the stories and documenting some of the beads. But this, I've been doing this a while, and I'm not an African aficionado, but this is one of the best collections of African art and masks and beads. And then he has a whole indigenous American set, European. Over here is Tibet, Nepal. Mind-blowing, and he's now been selling stuff out of it, so it's diminished a little bit, not much.
Not much, yeah.
And both of us, one thing that we definitely feel is that we are caretakers of the beads. We don't own the beads, and I tell that people in my shop, they go, "Is this your shop?" I said, "No, it's your shop. I'm just the caretaker. I'm just here to keep the shop open for you to enjoy." And I think Phil really feels that same way, that we have a duty to the goods, to their stories, and to the people that enjoy them. So tell us a little bit about how the museum, how'd that start?
So, I'm an old soul. I've been here before in different bodies, and I feel the history. It's not just looking at it. I feel the history, and I get messages from some of these pieces. They speak a language that's unspoken. And if you're sensitive and you pay attention, you can hear. And so when I moved to Tucson, it was the Native American culture, the indigenous culture, because it's so powerful in that part of our country. And I was aware of it growing up in New Jersey, but it really hit me in Tucson. And then I met young African men who were coming to the States. This is early 70s. And they were coming to mostly college towns and going to bead stores. And the young African men were coming to the States for their education.
Mm-hmm.
And in those days, long-haired hippies were wearing love beads.
Yep.
So these beads then were populated amongst the Woodstock generation.
Yep.
And I joke, 50 years later, I have way more beads and way less hair. And way more.
But he still has a little ponytail.
And way
back there,
more.
like Ben
I
Franklin.
do. I've got a little.
He's rocking the Ben Franklin.
So, the elders of Native American, African, and Tibetan families and tribes, Tibetan monks, have come to us and told me that I'm an old member of the tribe and an old member of their family, and I'm the shepherd of this flock, and these pieces have come to me for honor and protection and respect, and I have done that spiritually.
And you don't bury them.
No.
A lot of this stuff gets hidden away, and this is he makes it so accessible.
It wasn't me taking them home and owning them. It was
Right.
me, as you say, caretaking them and respecting them and honoring them.
Yeah.
And it is my joy, again, going back to passion, to welcome people not only into our shop. The museum is really separate from the store.
Yeah.
The museum was its own experience.
Right.
And almost to a person, when people walked into this room, the first thing, besides their eyes opening, and in many ways their heart and soul opening, was their mouth opening and going,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
this is our wow
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. I mean, as we're talking, above the camera here is a animal hide. I mean, it looks like a cat. Yeah. Is those cat paws?
No,
maybe? Or
no, I believe that's actually a pygmy hippo.
Pygmy hippo.
Yeah. And
Shield. I'm just blown away.
And below it is a South African piece with a little tuft of lion's fur.
Oh yeah. And that's almost like a cape or an apron,
Yeah.
actually. Like an apron, yeah. That
Excuse me.
would wear.
And there's a lot of animal spirit energy in the museum, because the native tribes in various countries also honored, in some cases maybe even more than we do in this country, honored the animals and the spirit
And nature
and the
in
life. Yeah. So when we moved to this store from Encinitas, so our shop was in Encinitas for many years, and then we moved here when the pandemic had shut things down, and we moved hundreds of boxes, beads, artifacts, and I didn't know what the store was going to look like, but I knew this particular room was going to be the museum room. It was the only room that had a floor.
Well, and it's big. I mean, for a bead museum, this is awesome.
So I moved all the boxes in here after we had the movers and our friends help us. And Valerie left, the movers left, our friends left. And I stayed behind and I stood in this room, not even really visualizing, just kind of feeling. And it was a month after George Floyd had died, and people coast to coast were saying and hearing, "I can't breathe." That was going across our country. And I stood in this room just looking with boxes and tubs on the floor. You've got the tubs now. And I heard silently, spiritually, "We can't breathe." And I heard it a second time, and I looked at the boxes and tubs. I opened up 4 of them, and spirits filled this room.
Mm-hmm.
And for 4 days, I was guided by spirit where everything went. They shared with me.
Yeah.
And they're here. They're here. It's a pretty special place.
Indeed, indeed. I just touched Shaman's Kate back there yesterday, and about the same time my door blew off at the bead store in Tucson. So I think it said, "Hey, you know, I don't think you're qualified to touch that."
You are qualified, but I wanted to tell you that the 2 pieces, one is a protector and one is a healer. So I don't think they had anything to do with the door blowing.
But it's so I'm going to interject some. I'll take some pictures around the museum, and I'll stick them in the video. You know, probably about here where I'm talking. I'll cut this out, and I'm going to take a picture of that tree. With the lizard, because that one is so cool. So it is such a joy to be here with Phil, and if as I said, he's in Vista. If you're anywhere in the area, usually I'm recommending the Chicken Pie Shop on El Cajon Boulevard in San Diego, which is about an hour south of here. But the second Saturday, tell us about that. Tell us about the future now. What's the next step?
So when we bought the store, and I stood in the store, and there weren't many customers and there weren't many beads, and immediately I was just grateful. And then I heard my 15-year-old self say, "Wouldn't it be neat to own a little bead store in a little beach town a few blocks from the ocean?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be neat?" I hadn't thought about it beforehand. Once I was standing there, it was the recognition of the manifestation of a vision that literally was spoken into existence when I was 15 years old. All I had to do would be prepared to act, mortgage our home, put everything we had into it, which is a really good lesson for young people who are looking at building a life. It doesn't come easily. It doesn't. I mean, some people are fortunate enough, they snap their fingers, they fall into something. But for most of us, you have to invest, you have to work, you have to learn, you have to study, you have to apply yourself.
And take a risk.
And take a risk. And betting on yourself is a good thing. And being led by truth and spirit is a good thing. And so now 30 years later, and I stood in the store after hearing my 15-year-old self, and out loud by myself, I said, "Thank you." Just express gratitude. And the next thing out of my mouth was, again out loud, standing in our store the first week, and I said, "What else do you have in store for me? I know this isn't all." And I instantly got the message, marry your love of stones and your love of language. I was a creative writing and journalism major in college. And I wrote since I was very young. And I've been working on some books for years, which now that's going to be the next chapter is I'll be writing. And I've got a children's book in the works about discovering crystals. I've got a book that I'm working on called The Human Gem,
Nice.
which is working with stones as a metaphor for human development and human worth and value and spiritual development. So that'll be the next chapter. And now after 30 years also, I get to have a schedule that isn't centered around this beautiful endeavor.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to spending a lot of time with my beautiful wife Valerie, who is my joy and my inspiration.
Yep.
And everybody should have a Valerie in their life. So that's what's coming next.
Yeah.
And I will not stop working and playing and studying and learning from beads and crystals, because they both have a lot of wisdom that I still have not acquired.
And sharing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that, one thing that the more we know each other, we see so many, like I started as a teenager in a bead store, and I think it was Santa Barbara, but it might have been Morro Bay. I'm pretty sure Santa Barbara, and when I was about 13. So we both have that kind of beginning, and then we're in it, years, decades later, we're doing it. Neither of us started our path at that time. And then of course we're in that same store. And the more I think about it, I'm like, I wonder if that was Phil. And he was just starting out and he didn't have anybody. I just don't remember. I don't have a diary, which my mother was always like, journal, write it down. But we got a lot in common. We share a lot, and we've both been extremely lucky.
Yeah. Although I say, when people wish me good luck, I'm like, thank you. Anybody can get lucky. I'm blessed. And we're blessed.
Indeed.
We're blessed.
Indeed.
Because, again, even we were talking this morning, a lot of the things that have happened with us and for us, you have to make good decisions and you have to make good choices. And the outcome of those good choices, we're walking down the road of life, and there come twists and turns and bends in the road.
Yep.
And, the path well taken.
Yep. And sometimes what looks like a curse transforms into a blessing.
Sure.
And vice versa. It's all very much take it as it comes. And
not every day is sunshine.
gotta have rain to water the flowers.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll take you on a little tour of the museum and one of these trees. I think we'll do the fountain.
Sure.
Shoot the fountain. And but I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your caretaking and safeguarding this, and me being able to get a little piece of it to take to Tucson, back to where what's part of your origin story is, and go into that museum, and to see where this leads us. And this is the beginning of a great relationship, and I'm just so thankful, and I'm so glad I was able to really spend some time with Val, because last couple times she wasn't up to it, and now she's looking great and getting around, and so we had a couple breakfasts together. She's out in the other room, and so just the one word I have is appreciation.
Yeah, gratitude.
Yeah. So you're a good brother. So, peace, love and harmony,
Absolutely.
and beads, and crystals,
Yeah.
and more.
And more. And more. Yeah.
So come visit Phil if you're in the area, and you can always come visit some of his beads at my place in Tucson. So this is the beginning of a journey, and I'm sure we're going to have more chapters.
Aloha.
Aloha.